Hey, gang, here's a public service announcement. Do not buy an automobile made in Philadelphia today, because it's like the old days in Detroit where they said, don't buy a car made on a Friday because everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Don't buy one on a Monday because people are still hungover from their weekend. Don't buy a car if they're made in Philadelphia today, because the town is in a collective funk over the collapse of the birds. And like every weekend for the last several weekends, and by the way, thank you to my friends at the Play Gun Lake Casino in Michigan, where you are faring far better. But every weekend I went in on the birds because I kept thinking, well, surely this is going to end. Surely, a team that was like 11-1 is going to turn it around, and they never did, and they collapsed. The state of Michigan, on the other hand, is going crazy with their pro football team preparing for the divisional round this coming weekend. Sunday, 3 p.m., Detroit is going to host Tampa Bay. That's going to be exciting. That is going to be a really great game. Sunday at 3, Detroit is a 6-point home favorite. That sounds heavy to me. My listeners in Michigan love the Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app. Play all your favorite casino games for real money and bet on your favorite sports. I thought that the L.A. Detroit game, and especially with the quarterback plot line, was the most exciting game of the weekend, at least among the games that I watched. Odds and slots and bets and games right in your pocket. The casino comes to you wherever you are in the great state of Michigan. Play with a live dealer on your phone when there's not a game that interests you. Online slots, all the fun stuff. New users only. Casino bonus has to be wagered. Terms and conditions apply. See the website at playgunlake.com for details. Got to be 21 and in Michigan. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline 1-800-270-7117. Headlines now from the Tuesday. I'm confused because of the holiday yesterday. Tuesday edition of the newsletter. May I say at the outset, for the benefit of those watching the headlines on YouTube, that TC and I are both wearing our personally crocheted knit caps in purple. Megan Rubin. There's a great backstory here. We told the story recently about the woman from Philadelphia who's on a plane and she sees a baby like in the arms of another couple, doesn't even know them.
She's sitting next to this baby. It's the baby's first flight. She's knitting away. The baby is completely fascinated, like click, 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 watching that. If you've ever seen someone knit, it can be very meditative. So the baby is calmed, I guess, and into watching this woman knit. But the cool thing is, at the end of the flight, the woman hands over a little knit hat for the baby. And it was like the feel-good story of the week.
Hands that knitted for the baby have knitted for us. And we are wearing, my grandmother, was, Nanny Grovich, was a knitter. And she would knit slippers.
Oh.
She would knit
slippers. Would they be slippery or did somehow grippy stuff on the bottom?
No,
they would be slippery.
No, they would be slippery. And I have several pair at home.
That's so cool.
That are so special.
They're lounging slippers, not walking
and they're
slippers.
just so distinctive. And and my brother, after her passing, speaking of the slipping, he went to great lengths to like resole his.
Yeah, that's what
and
I
to
wonder.
put a bottom on them.
I think they just wear them for lounging. Oh, by the way, people are asking whether our hats are the same color because they're wondering if it's something's different on the cameras. No, mine's lighter colored. Yeah. And yours is the darker colored.
Yeah.
And I
love mine.
Love this.
Yeah, I love it as well. And
so thank you, Megan.
It's the perfect day. Yeah, Megan. And Megan also, like with a note, did she?
Yes, I believe she painted this as well.
Okay, so she painted that. She's really talented.
There's nothing she can't do.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Power to the purple people, she says.
Yeah.
Thank you, Megan. So gang, with regard to the Iowa caucus, interesting to me that, people are all upset, especially Ron DeSantis, about the early call. The lead story today at Smerconish.com, because you already knew that Donald Trump won and broke 50%. I went with the Des Moines Register story under the headline, Early Call of Trump as Winner in Iowa Caucuses Stirs Anger. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC called the race early about the same time as the Associated Press, 31 minutes after the caucuses began at 7 p.m. I mean, I get DeSantis's beef. He's now calling it election interference. I understand why he was upset, but does anybody really think that if it hadn't been called, that Ron DeSantis was going to win or even fare significantly better than he did last night? I don't think so. I'm unsettled by it. And as I've said earlier, to me, it's reminiscent of 1980 when the nation was called for Ronald Reagan while people on the West Coast were still voting and Jimmy Carter beefed. And in that case, the legitimate beef, I thought, was that it impacted down ballot races. You didn't have that last night in the Iowa caucus. It's not as if a congressional race suffered because the presidential contest was called. And it was such a blowout. It was such a blowout. But I do understand, 31 minutes after the caucuses began at 7 p.m. Local time, drawing such consternation. Jack Oman, It's a Tuesday, has a political cartoon in Smerconish.com, the daily newsletter that you'll get a kick out of, pertaining to the outcome of the Iowa caucus, and much more to come on that as we now look to New Hampshire on the 23rd, which is a week from today. Holy smokes. I got to get into this in some additional detail. Fani Willis delivered a church sermon over the weekend at the Big Bethel AME Church in Atlanta. This was one day prior to MLK Jr. Day. The issue here is that a prosecutor her office engaged, Nathan Wade, by all accounts lacks the requisite experience as a prosecutor, and yet he's playing a key role in the Georgia prosecution of Donald Trump. And I want to drill down on this. Maybe Patricia Murphy from the Journal-Constitution, who has written on it, can come on the program, because I'm now wondering if this is going to cause the unraveling of the Georgia case against Donald Trump.
I feel like it's the biggest issue that people aren't talking about as much. And maybe it's because Iowa is taking over, et cetera. There's so much news. But I agree with you. I feel like this is going to be bigger than, this is going to be big.
And this
is going to be big. And it's again, how on earth did she think people weren't going to find out about this? Are you kidding me?
She said it's being driven by racism and that more people are calling her the N-word than are calling her Fani.
What's being driven by racism? The fact that she possibly
the attention being placed on it.
Had an affair and paid her boyfriend more. I'm sorry, that's racist?
And
that's
then, of course,
racist.
people say, and then the two of you went away, so presumably the money used for the investigation paid for your vacation. We have a piece of sound from what she said at the Bethel Church on Sunday.
Dear God, I do not want to be like those that attack me. I never want to be a Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has never met me, but has allowed her spirit to be filled with hate. How does this woman, who has the honor of being a leader in my state, how is it that she has not reached out to me? She can tell me, I don't agree with anything you're doing, but I do not agree with people threatening your life or the life of your family.
Fani Willis talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. There were great stories over the holiday weekend in the newsletter, including this one about a missing Manhattan dog, a mini golden doodle named Rosie, missing on the Upper East Side. A GoFundMe campaign has raised $19,458 to find her as of Friday morning. We checked before coming on air today. We think that the dog is still missing.
Well, the dog, it's interesting if you dig a little deeper, the dog's actually been missing since Thanksgiving. So this became what popped is, this is no surprise to you. No, it started on TikTok. So in other words, she was the owner of the dog was doing what all of us would have done and sort of like
hanging
reaching
a
out
poster.
online and posters and things like that. Fine.
Okay, but the flyer...
But the
wait.
dog has been seen. The dog has been seen running around Central Park.
TC, the initial flyer on the telephone pole was $6,000. Like, I'm used to seeing signs that say, hey, I'm missing my golden doodle.
Right.
But $6,000 would be, an Upper East Side, I guess,
an Upper East
sum
Side
of money.
kind of thing. But when you got to go with the, gas is a certain amount in different places. Burgers are a certain amount in different places. That's the same kind of thing. But yeah, it's popped. But I'm a little concerned about Rosie.
Alice, our editor, had a birthday on Saturday. I don't even know how old she is. I think
young,
17 or 18.
fabulous.
I'm not sure.
Perfect.
She does a terrific job. I'm forever telling her, use the picture of you walking in Harrisburg over the river. I love that.
she not only used that picture, she raised you, because there are such fabulous pictures in that piece. And I heard from so many people that their very favorite piece from any, for the last few days was her exclusive content. It is so good.
On her birthday, she published an essay, told us a little bit more about her. Since assuming the role of Michael's editor in 2022, I've jokingly suggested that my background as a funambulist piqued his interest enough to hire me. There's some truth in that, but I would like to formally clarify that my career path wasn't a direct leap from circus to radio. I've waited tables, cleaned houses, and got a BA in media from Temple University. There's much more to it. The pictures were fabulous.
She hustles.
She's a hustler.
She's a hustler.
And she's a great storyteller.
She's a great storyteller. She has phenomenal stories within that piece, and she also connects lessons that she's learned from the tightrope to working with and for you, which I really appreciated. I liked I just
Me too.
thought
I thought it was terrific. I was laughing and interested and getting a kick out of it. On the same work theme, I just read that in a new survey, only 6 of 158 U.S. CEOs say they will prioritize bringing workers back to the office full-time in 2024. So CEOs are waving the white flag. Meanwhile, the story that we've posted right now from the Wall Street Journal shows that remote workers are losing out on promotions. New data shows that fully remote workers are falling behind in one of the most prized and important aspects of a career, and that is getting ahead. Over the past year, remote workers were promoted 31% less frequently than people who worked in an office. So
that doesn't surprise me
one
single bit.
Right.
Not
if you want
to
get to the next level,
right,
then you better be in the workplace is the advice. Another headline from over the weekend in the Smerconish daily newsletter. A million-aged millionaires row. The average. This requires some brief explanation. The average U.S. 50-something now has a net worth over $1 million. And if you're saying, well, wait a minute, I'm not in that category. What do you mean the average? This is from USA Today. Sometime around age 50, the average American can now expect a household net worth exceeding $1 million. And then it goes on to explain, how did so many 50-somethings become millionaires? Well, the numbers are being driven. The average number is being driven by those who are extremely wealthy. And it gets back to the whole, well, what's the median versus what's the average? The median is far less.
Far less.
And in that same vein, another story that we had from CNN.com talked about how the world's 5 richest men, they are all men, more than doubled in their wealth since 2020. Like, I was thinking it was going to say, like, since 1997. No. Since 2020.
The last basically 3 years, because we're only a month into the fourth.
Really, really remarkable.
That's Elon Musk, Arnold, Bezos, Ellison, and Buffett, in case you're wondering.
More headlines from the Tuesday edition of the news. What a great TV night it was last night between the Eagles game and all the coverage of the Iowa caucus. And I didn't pay any attention, but I know that it was also the Emmys.
It was the red carpet.
Did you watch any of the Emmys?
I watched the red carpet and followed.
And what did you see?
Well, I just the dresses are a little edgy.
Oh, the celebrities.
Yeah, no, it cracks me up, and it makes me laugh when they're like worst dressed, best dressed, and I'm sure that the people who are on the worst dressed list thought they looked great. So then, how does that happen?
Okay, well, I didn't watch the Emmys.
Okay,
and yet I still had more celebrity encounter and moment than you did, and you watched the Emmys.
How do you know that you had more celebrity encounters than I did?
Because yesterday I was in a bakery that shall not be named.
Okay.
Right? We had the day off.
Yes,
we had
a
great program nonetheless here, but we had the day off. So at 8:15 yesterday, unusually, obviously, I found myself in a bakery having, coffee with one of our sons and
fabulous.
Eating a croissant.
Okay. I'm happy for you.
And the bakery was empty, and then in walked a couple, and the woman was extremely attractive. Like, you looked at her and you're like, she's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And she smiled at me, and I smiled at her. I don't think we even said, like, good morning or anything, just like, hey,
Hi. Yeah.
How are you?
Little acknowledgement.
So I also took note of the fact that she was, even though, bad weather and so forth, and we're all wearing bulky clothes. I could tell she was like rail thin. Her pants like rail thin.
Got it.
Tom Wolfe social X-ray kind of stuff.
Oh, really, really thin.
But a beautiful woman.
Okay.
A beautiful woman. And then she left.
Okay.
And then it was back to nobody else being in the bakery.
Right. But your son.
Except my son and me. Yeah. Right. So then there was a buzz behind the counter.
Who was she?
Gigi Hadid.
Gigi Hadid.
Also known as Bradley Cooper's girlfriend.
I thought Bella Hadid was his girlfriend.
No.
Which one? Gigi?
Gigi. Yes.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Very.
She is a stunning woman.
Yeah.
And so is Bella Hadid, by the way. Oh, by the way, yeah, Gigi Hadid is the one I thought. I confused the two of them. Yes. Yeah, she's a totally stunning woman. Interesting that she's literally like that in person as well. I've never seen her in person.
If she walked in here,
you'd be like, she's a supermodel.
You would say, this is really a beautiful woman.
Yeah, but she is literally a supermodel.
Let me just say this. There's no way she's eating all those croissants.
What did she get?
There's no way.
Not a chance.
I would have eaten all those croissants.
What did she get? Like a dozen croissant and a black coffee?
I didn't pay attention.
That's
but
amazing.
I think she walked out with a bag.
Who was she with when you say?
She was not with Bradley Cooper. She was with a guy.
With maybe it was her brother.
A player to be named later.
Okay, fine.
So
yeah, that's very exciting.
Right?
Yeah.
True Detective, Jodie Foster. I guess this is season like 3 or 4, but they're not interconnected. What season is it? I think it's 4, but I don't even know.
17.
I watched the premiere.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it. I don't know if I'm going to hang with it because I'm not giving away too much. I'm not a sci-fi guy. I'm not a supernatural guy.
Oh.
And there are shades of that. And I read a review. Yeah. And I read a review and there's more of that coming. That's not my cup of tea.
That's interesting.
Not my cup of tea, but I enjoyed it.
That first True Detective was so good.
But I enjoyed. Oh my God! Everybody talks about Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey.
So good.
There's a really good story that we had from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette about the glut of real estate agents. And this was in Pittsburgh, but I think it applies to anywhere USA. Nearly half, 49% of real estate agents made 0 sales or just 1 sale in a 12-month period between late 2022 and late 2023, according to a study by the Consumer Federation of America. And one of the reasons why it piqued my curiosity is not only because there's a lot of real estate in my family, my mom, my wife, both brokers, long careers, successful careers, but also because in the fall, last October, there was that Missouri court case that handed down an enormous class action verdict against some of the big residential real estate companies in the nation that has yet to really shake out. But it could upend the way commissions are determined. And if it happens, I think it's going to put an end to the trend born out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where people say, hey, I think I'll get my license and I may never even use it, but I'd like to have it because I think it's going to change the whole income stream of the industry. At least so I suspect. No surprise here. Poor Granny. She was so upset because Meghan and Harry wanted to use Lilibet and she's like, hey, that's my name. How could you use that as a middle name?
Allegedly.
Reportedly.
I think it's her real name. I don't think it's a middle name. I think that is her name. That's the whole point. It is her name.
I don't know. All I know is I don't think it is TC, but you may be right. I don't think Lilibet is literally her name. I just think it was the name by which
Lilibet
they were.
Diana.
I don't know. You're going to look it up, I'm sure, right now and figure it out. But the Queen apparently said,
Lilibet Diana.
I don't own the palaces. I don't own the paintings. The only thing I own is my name, and now they've taken that. That's from a quoted source, okay?
Her name is Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor.
How could they have taken that name?
Goes by Lily.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Philadelphia Inquirer, how much do dry January participants save in a month without booze? It could be as much as $300. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. You were my inspiration of getting through the weekend without smoking or drinking. And I got to say, this weekend was a struggle because it was a holiday weekend. Even though I worked the whole weekend, there was a lot of great football. I was also polishing a speech, and I would love to have had a cigar this weekend. And
so you are dry and you are
dry as a bone.
Unsmoked.
You're dry as a bone.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And today's the 16th, so I'm more than halfway.
So I feel like you're going to make it now.
Yeah, why wouldn't I?
Or are you just going to give up now?
No, but I mean, well, there's no one. The problem that I have is there's no one else to prove wrong. Like you thought I was going to surrender last weekend. Dan thought I was going to surrender
I know, but now
this
neither
weekend.
of us think you're going to make it till the end.
What?
Yeah.
You don't?
Never.
You're just saying that. Now, I don't need you goosing me along. No, I think I'll make it.
Well, we're all looking forward to your drink on live on YouTube.
If I make it on February 1, I'm going to break the fast via YouTube, and we'll send out invitations or some such thing, and I shall enjoy a Manhattan.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, but it would have been great. If I'll say this, if this, and this is also a wake up and realization. If I were not on the wagon for dry January, and if I hadn't then added a smoke-free cigar smoke-free.
Would you have any other announcements to make?
No,
fascinating.
No. But if I had not,
I feel better about your weekend now.
If I had not engaged in this campaign, this weekend would probably have been like a 6-cigar weekend, 7-cigar weekend,
like 2 a day. Is that what?
Yeah,
and what
it definitely would.
What time do you start?
Well, it depends. Like I would have smoked watching football and then smoked again.
So in the evening, you can smoke like right before bed.
No, yeah.
Okay, no, I don't know because some.
No, but
I
also worked. I mean, all the effort for this week's radio and television and my speech, and I read books. There were just many times
that you wish
when
you
I
had
would
a
have
cigar in
liked
your
to
hand.
have smoked.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. My smoking cap. Thanks, that I'm
Megan.
wearing. Ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to the daily newsletter. Please give TC some play with TC After Dark, her podcast. I've got a few of those of my own. We'll see you later.